Hello, welcome to Family DynamiKs. It's Liz.
And Katherine.
And Ed.
And John.
So I know some people had New Year's resolutions and things they wanted to do and accomplish. And I don't know if this is on the list or how this even started.
Oh, I know how it started.
Okay,
yeah.
Wait, let's reference what the it is.
There's been a big cleanup at our mom's house, and I'll tell you where it started. There's a giant mess out front that landed on her car.
Oh,
So
right, the tree. Okay.
That kind of required all of
yeah.
our attention and effort and energy to figure out what to do and how to figure it out. And then it was like, well, this lady ain't figuring out replacing that car on her own. There's also more stuff. Would you all please help?
Right. I mean,
I had forgotten that's how it
Did
kind
we
of started.
talk about that before on the podcast?
We definitely talked about the tree and dealing with the tree.
Right.
Yeah.
So that then sort of started the tumbleweed of there are quite a few projects around the house that maybe we want to start doing to help mom out.
Correct. And sort of not just help her out, but almost take them over for her so there's not as much pressure on her to try and do them or manage them, but more like delegate. How about you've got all these kids? Why don't we figure out what needs to happen and then we can do it?
Yeah, and especially the long-term projects that need someone managing, some contractor or gardener or something like that. It's yeah, no, she's still got a lot of stuff on her schedule. This is not, these things aren't happening until someone intervenes. All right, everybody intervene. We can all help.
Well, Grandmary traditionally is a very busy lady. She's always got a lot going on.
Yeah,
our mom.
she is turning 80 this year.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, which is, it's not crazy because it's okay. I mean,
yeah.
You do the math, but realizing, I'm sure a lot of you listeners parents have reached an age where they just can't maintain certain aspects of their household anymore. It's not really physically possible.
Yeah.
And that tree was a big sort of oh, okay. And, Virginia will go over there quite often and visit and help with stuff. But then, with her.
She's there this afternoon doing some gardening. She's ripping it up.
Yeah. But, due to her own breast cancer journey, which we talked about on this podcast, she hasn't been as available this last year or so.
Right.
And then COVID and all that. So, yes, so we have started what is the great Killmond cleanout, I think is what you could call it.
The Killmond cleanout of our mom's house. Ooh, it's kind of epic.
Well, she's lived in that house for 50 years plus.
50 years.
And then mom honestly thought, and she's told the story, I think, possibly even on this podcast, with her history when she visits us, about it. She never thought, based on her own childhood experience, that she would be living in that house for anything more than 2 or 3 years.
Right, because her history was constant moving. Every couple of years, her dad would move them to a different house.
And she thought Southern California, we're of course going to have a pool, but she did not want a pool at that juncture because she had so many young kids. She didn't want to worry about the kids in a pool. But she never thought they weren't going to move in 2 or 3 years to have a pool because the San Fernando Valley in the summer, consistently can be 90 to 100 degrees. So,
yeah.
And we don't have what's sometimes in other parts of the United States was our community pools. We had one, but it was significantly far away. So then you were constantly at the friendly neighbor. But our neighborhood was not a neighborhood of pools.
There's not a lot of pools.
All we need to do as kids is throw a hike in there, and all of us are pre-training for triathlons. So between the bike ride and the swimming in the pool, put a little run in there, and we're good to go.
Ride to the park to go swimming in the pool, ride home, then go for a hike.
Well, we would
Good
do
workout,
we would do all those type of things. Like McDonald's in our neighborhood would have a bicycle sort of charity event that was raised. And all this, we would always do things that just to keep busy and to get out of the house.
Yeah.
It was Ronald McDonald is having a bike-a-thon. Let's go do it. I mean, there's a run walk at Warner Center. Let's go do it. I mean, anything to get out of the house. So you're not far off it. I think we all probably could have done a mini triathlon, not a big one.
Yeah. Well, so the upshot of Mom's house is she's been in there a long time and has accumulated a lot of stuff. There was a clean out after the earthquake. The Northridge earthquake caused enough damage that it had to be cleaned out. Moved out so that she could do all the fixing, and that was a little bit of a clean slate, but then many years have passed, so the accumulation of stuff is a lot.
And when we had to move out to this rental house, Rosie and I sort of led the charge on that, and there was a garage sale that was going to happen.
This was after the earthquake? What year
After
was
the
that? I
earthquake,
don't remember.
94.
94. Okay.
So, and a lot of things were damaged and broke, and like everybody that was experiencing the earth or aftermath of the earthquake here in Southern California. But there was enough stuff we, felt, okay, well, this is garage sale worthy. But for some reason, the timing, we had to transport it to the house we were renting.
Oh, mm-hmm.
So then we were going to do the garage sale there. And we had a U-Haul that had to return at the end of that day. So it was all the timing. Yet it rained that day.
Oh, no.
So Rosie was like, oh, forget it. Let's just take the U-Haul and donate it all. Except for when you advertise you're going to have a garage sale.
Oh, crap.
A lot of people still show up and wanted us to open up the back of the U-Haul and get in there. And I was like, no, there's no, throughout that experience and this one, I am famous for going Antique Roadshow. Like we found some treasure.
Wishful thinking. Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that. We might have. But
unlikely, but possible.
Yes, I can honestly say, hand to a Bible, the last round, no Antique Roadshow thing went out of the out of the house, and then eventually donated to Goodwill. So we did not even end up having the garage sale because it was raining.
Yeah, I think that clean out, rearrange, whatever, is when I ended up getting Dad's mom's secretary, that piece of furniture that has followed me from house to house. We have moved quite a bit, Eric and I, but so I think that's when we ended up with that piece of furniture because Grandmary was like, I don't want it, get rid of it, and we're like, well, you can't get rid of it. It's like a family heirloom, whether it's worth money or not.
Right.
I mean, obviously, we scratched the crap out of it. I don't think treat it well,
Chippendale,
but no. I don't think it's really actually worth anything. But
it is a cool piece, and yes,
it's nice for history to still have
get rid of it. Yeah, in the family. So even if you decide you didn't want it, there needs to be a hey.
Oh yeah. Hopefully somebody would take custody of it, but currently I have it.
I think Rosie might. But
I don't know. It's not her style. I mean, she's very much like a no if it doesn't work with what she wants aesthetically things to look like.
Very true.
I feel like, Rosemary could use a nice big furniture warehouse of her own stuff that she could once every year and a half swap out stuff in her house. And that would be in the warehouse and occasionally would make a year-long appearance with all the other stuff that it fit with.
That almost sounds like Grandmary's wardrobe, how she has separate seasonal stuff that is cycled in and out. Rosemary could have a whole warehouse of actual furniture.
And that kind of goes to when you're talking, mom and a seasonal wardrobe, she's an adult. So, this is her house. So really,
she can fill it if she wants
we really have
to the brim.
Yeah, there hasn't been an intervention or us trying to take over at any point up until probably now. Because what we've realized between her driving again and her Bible study class that she's decided to teach, which is a big obligation, takes up a lot of time, and then her social life, it's okay, you need help with some of this, and I think it's going to be the house, because I don't want to help with the Bible study class.
Why not? Come on, Liz, get on it.
Her social life consists, of people around her age, so none of us are really into that crew, really.
Because, John, you were helping with the Bible study class in the beginning, right?
Up until just recently, yes.
Oh, now
someone else took over the typing of the paper?
That might be true.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But that's all you were doing. Were you actually really learning the Bible?
No, I wasn't learning the Bible, but that wasn't all I was doing.
Oh, okay. Well,
and then I was also the tech support in the house to make sure she got on the Zoom and that her camera was turned on. And that
wait, she was teaching you remotely?
Still, to this day.
What? I thought they were meeting together. No?
They do both.
Well, my.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
What do you mean they do both?
It's, why do they do both? Okay, there are 2 different days that the class is on. Mm-hmm. One day is on Zoom. The other day is in person. They are there
It's twice a week?
It's twice a week. They're on different schedules, just off by a week or 2 because, sometimes you don't get through your whole lesson plan.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So it's complicated.
It's complicated. There's a lot of dense Bible learning going on.
We definitely realized when Mom was trying to explain it to us, it was complicated. But I don't even think I realized, John, you add some more layers to this bean dip that is what in the hell, Ola? So our mother has always been an educator, a learner and an educator.
Yeah.
Always taking classes, always in wanting to educate, which is impressive, which is awesome. And it's probably kept her brain synapses going longer than a lot of people.
Yeah, she's very motivated by it.
Yeah, so it's well worth doing. But it takes a lot of time. And even as a teacher, how she would organize or structure her learning lessons, or how she would,
Or even grading. Like her whole approach was very complicated.
every single person at this table graded kids' papers.
Or helped input things into the grade book, and then there was some formula or algorithm.
And you have to keep in mind, she was a religion teacher, and I am not trying to belittle that, but usually in most schools, that is not one of the more intense subjects.
It's not as rigorous usually.
Unless
but
your
that is her
teacher
approach. Yeah.
is Mary Killmond.
And she's taken it super serious, so you better too.
Oh, she taught at a very private, prestigious all-girls high school in Pasadena. And I remember her being outraged that a parent was enraged that she was flunking her daughter in this religion class. And that was going to have a huge impact on her, college transcripts.
Right. And I don't even think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't want people to think it's like a religion class where it's like learning a specific religion, or even a world religion class where it's like you're being tested on facts. I think this was actually like a spirituality class. So it was a lot of like discussion about spirituality, and I think there were assignments that this person was supposed to do, like that kind of thing.
And that sounds really interesting.
And participation was a big factor.
It sounds like that could be really cool.
Yeah. Mhm.
Unless you have a teacher that makes it like really challenging to the point you're like, I'm going to fail a spirituality class. Like, it's my own spirituality. How can you fail me?
But if you're not doing
If
all
you're
of
not
the assignments,
spiritual, and then you get a fail. That's how.
no, it's not. It wasn't even whether or not you were spiritual. There was a litany of
Participation.
assignments. Yeah, and you had to like turn in things and
But it
do
was-
things
this
and
was-
present things and like whatever. I don't
this
know.
was the parents' big, brouhaha that they had to go to the principal and have a big discussion about, was the fact that mom's class load or assignment load was equivalent to English or history or any of the other subjects. But some colleges do not take the religious, you can't even submit it as part of your transcript, or it doesn't factor into the GPA. So these parents were like, this is not an equal class to these other ones, yet my daughter is spending just as much time, if not more, on it, and she's failing, which so and I go, Mom, like, read the room. Like, why are you making it's a religious school? This
But
was
that was her
invitation.
whole.
I know.
Her whole thing was it's a serious class, and that's where the discrepancy in terms of what they thought, being the parents or the administration or whatever,
Right.
how seriously they expected people to take it versus how seriously she took it.
And now we're at the modern version of it, which is her Bible study class.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it seems very intense what she does, John, preparing. I mean, are there tests or anything to do?
No, there's not tests. Yes, it's very serious.
She does a ton of research, right?
Correct. Look, if you were to actually think about what you would want in a Bible study class, ideally it would be something more than you already know, or you could get from just reading it. So that's what she's trying to bring. She's trying to bring more than these people have.
Right. It's not just a discussion group where you have this idea of like, start here and we'll all just talk about it. She's teaching a lesson.
Perfect corollary, just like the spirituality class. A discussion group, you're going to need something, some impetus, some, points to come off of. So these other research materials are what is giving that.
Jeez, Mom.
She's serious.
So yeah, so realizing that she had really
this big commitment going on.
commitment that she'd
Well, I would
taken
say the big thing that was super obvious to us, not even realizing how intense this Bible study class was and what a time commitment it was, but she gets so much mail, like a crazy amount of mail, and then she wants all of it everywhere to like look at it and sort it. And I think we became very aware the house is very full. And I mean, I wouldn't say like hoarder level, but there's just a lot of stuff.
Right.
And it can feel very chaotic and unorganized. But really the mail was the most obvious of like, you come in the house and the entire dining room table is covered with different piles of mail and different charities in different stages
Yeah, a lot of
of
charity.
things that she's donating $5 to. And like, we were like, whoa, okay.
Well, there's charities and there's surveys. You gotta watch out
surveys.
for the
Why?
surveys. 'Cause
You don't need to
there's a
do any
quarter in
survey.
there.
What?
If I'm gonna take that quarter, I gotta fill out the survey and send it back.
Whoa, that
Yeah.
is rude that they would send you a quarter to make you feel obligated to take some dumb survey.
Well, also, it's like, the change on the street. Yes, I would stop and pick up a quarter if I saw it on the street. Well, we're going to get all those people who would pick up that quarter to fill out the survey. It's a trick.
Well, I usually get the nickel survey.
The nickel survey.
And when my son in grade school, he'd have a little donation box. It was called the Rice Bowl.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And loose change and everything like that will go into it throughout the year. And then you donate. And sometimes you're like, oh, gosh, it was $25 or $60. Like, you don't even know. Like, it just over the year, anything I saw loose around the house, I put in there. And so the charity went right back to charity. I would open those up. I'd take the nickel off the gummy back sticked paper
Wow.
and put it right in there. Because I'm not going to throw away a nickel, but I am certainly not going to fill out a survey and feel obligated to do it. But that was
I mean, a nickel is a nickel. Come on.
I think there was recently a piece of mail that came to the house because there's still like random smattering of other family members that will get mail at the house. So it's very convenient that mom goes through every piece of mail to make sure she gets her mail sorted, my mail sorted, John's mail sorted, James's mail sorted. Ooh, this is for Katherine. Make sure she gets this. Mom, this is one of those surveys. Absolutely not. Into
I
the
don't
trash.
care if there's a nickel in it. I don't want it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, because, I will typically go to my mailbox, walk in the house, stand over the trash can, and,
Rip stuff in half and throw it away.
sorry, solicitors, 90% of the mail goes in the trash because, online bill paying. So
Oh, yeah.
most of us have eliminated the paper payment that existed, for since the beginning of time, basically. And even writing checks has become so minimal for most people, but, not our mother. So like I said, Virginia going back, pre-breast cancer was paying and working with mom on her bills. So I think it kind of became less. Then mom started it up again. And that was one of the, we're going to have meetings about this tree in the car. It was like, what is all this freaking mail everywhere? And it's like, oh, she's kind of back to her old, everything has to be looked at and evaluated and processed and decided if it needs to be recycled or thrown away or responded to or filled out. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Right. So prompted by observing the mail situation and other stuff around the house and obviously dealing with the tree in the car and all that, we called a meeting, a local siblings meeting, and kind of proposed to mom, how about we start assigning different kids to different jobs and kind of alleviate some of this stuff from your plate. Now, that meeting was a little overwhelming for her because I don't think she anticipated that we were going to be like, lady, you're doing too much. Because that was not taken super well by her. I mean, like, she was okay with the idea, but I think she was overwhelmed by the it was almost like an intervention level meeting, which she was, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even know if she knew that was going to be the agenda of the meeting. So we probably should have prepared her more. We had a meeting before that because there were some communication issues that she was having with you, Ed. And so we all kind of came together like,
The siblings did,
let's figure out a way to help you. And through that, it was sort of, and seeing in the house, realizing what is going on here. It was like, all right, I think that there is a lot on her plate and we all need to help alleviate that more so there's not as much tension and
Or pressure on anyone in particular, that it's kind of spread out.
I feel like it's a direction we could all easily head in our own lives to build up an entire set of activities or things that you're participating in that over time you don't want to give up on, but is too much. And it's really hard to rectify. I can't handle everything I should be handling. I need some people's help so I can still focus on the things I really want to do, like the Bible study group and church and her volunteerism social life, where she's more helping other people in the community than just going out and having a random lunch. It's like, I'm going to take this person out to lunch because they don't get out.
Well, that or take them to church because they can't get to church and then go to lunch.
So there was besides it being a lot to take in that initial meeting and not having a real heads up, it's also like you've got to come to your own terms with, I will take this help, actually. I wasn't going to ask for it, and I was going to struggle, and now you're all seeing this struggle. Take over some of this, I guess. And part of that also is related to, after her stroke, everybody had to help and pick up stuff and do things. And one of the things about recovering from a stroke is you want to take everything back. You want to get back to where you were on every single thing, even if it's paying the bills and it takes 3 days because you have to spread them across the entire dining room table to do it. You want to do it because that proves that you're back from this, event that happened. But we're now years past the original stroke and you've made it all the way back, and there's no reason to be struggling so hard. Let us all help.
Yeah, because even if you make it all the way back, you're still aging. And the natural part of aging is like you do need to give up some stuff just for your own mental and physical health. You can't do everything as you get older. You're just not capable. Your body starts to be fighting you. You just don't have the energy and the stamina and all of that. So, but I'm sure it was not fun for anyone, and particularly her, to face the reality or, to face people telling you, like, you should try and stop doing everything.
Yeah, well, Virginia and Rosemary really wanted her to stop doing the Bible study.
Well, I would agree to that, but whatever. She's going to do what she's going to do. We can try and intervene, but that was a big priority of hers. She's like, I'm keeping it. It's like, okay, sure. I mean, it's hard because when it's something that you don't really see the value of, like in my case, it's not something that I would be interested in or think is a good use of time, but it's not me. So whatever, I need to get out of the way of that. It's like, I'm sure she's like, Katherine shouldn't watch so much TV. Well, I do. So,
Very true.
Almost religiously.
I think she has joked that TV is my religion, which she's not wrong. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm very passionate and interested in.
Yes. And that's why we have another podcast called What We're Watching.
Of course.
Plug there. But so we then came to the conclusion in that family meeting that we need to start taking on projects around the house and helping mom. And I really didn't know how that would go. So we made a plan.
Well, God loved Ginny. She had notes and she was like ready to write things down, and people were getting assignments. And it got real pretty quick and defined.
Right. And it goes back to, also, I think it was a little overwhelming for mom. And I observed that mom is not very good at communicating when it's too much for her.
For sure. Even just physically. So she won't say anything, but she also is not giving a lot of physical indications. She did seem to be like losing energy. And we were like, did she just fall asleep? But no, she was reading a piece of paper. But it looked like she was falling asleep. But John, you want to say?
I'm just, there were signs. There were definite signs as it was continuing. But, that's maybe it was less obvious to some, I guess.
Yeah,
I also don't think it's her responsibility to show us what's going on. She's nearly 80. We're all not anywhere close to that age. We were the majority in that table, and we needed to be more responsible and respectful to this old lady who's already had a stroke. We should have had a better plan going into that.
I don't know how to balance it, because she does have energy to do a Bible study class. She does have energy to do these other things. So probably at the end of the day, that was not right. It was like more.
That's all I'm saying, is that we're the adults in this.
Well, so is
this
she.
is the senior citizens. So then we should have planned it better. We know that she's going to be low energy at the end of the day. We should have aimed for 45 minutes.
Well, right. But we also offered initially. And with that in mind, we didn't want to do it at the end of the day, but those were the only windows that she was giving us because she was too busy. I mean, and then we had an agenda of all the things we needed to lay out for her. And she had basically said, I can do it on this Wednesday night or whatever at 7 or something. It's like, oh.
Yeah, but then we walk in and she's not really had dinner, or she really hasn't taken a nap. And you're like, okay. I mean, this is where I go, like, this is a hard balance where we all have to learn. And I'm trying to learn. It's like, well, you want to be independent. You are doing your own things. But then when it comes to something like this, you did not handle it well. And me, like, pre-prepping and...
You knew all of us were going to be there.
Right.
And we were expecting you to show up, like, able to sit for an hour with all of your children who are offering help. That's not where she's at. That's what I'm saying. Like, as adults, we saw that happen right there in that one meeting. We gave her plenty of advance notice, a big agenda, picked a specific day, and then she showed up not ready, because that's not a priority for her. Her priorities are that Bible study group, the people in her life that she's putting her volunteerism time in with, vocational time in with. So, understandably, we all still have a life that we want to get back to, so we booked this time with you. So that is like furthering a conversation with her about, like, hey, as we engage with you and say, we're going to take this over, and you don't show up able for us to take it over. That's more work for us. So let's get on the better page of that. And it's like Katherine was saying, this woman is getting older. And so every day that page is getting harder and harder to figure out exactly.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. So, the meeting, I think, went as well under those circumstances as it could. And afterwards, she was, I think, processed it and felt that it was, what did she say? John, I think she said to Virginia that she felt ambushed.
Yeah.
Which you're like,
I mean, what's interesting is she's very able to articulate things after the fact. And
well, that's some people you process it after.
So there was a lot of annoyance with us after the fact, being told to different people in different times and getting back to other people like, oh, she was actually kind of mad about the whole thing. You're like, oh, okay, well.
But ultimately not like angry about it or like staying mad or holding us, in that same spot, because it was like that Saturday that we all got together. And I don't want to fast forward through it, but the end of that is, even if she didn't take the information or the way we wanted to help her, well, the help was huge, and it was like, it made a big difference that she really felt the help of it at that time, as opposed to how it all sounded and how it felt like we were attacking her. It's like, no, we actually just came over and helped a lot, actually.
Well, it's just, so we had planned for that weekend, and it's always with Mom, there's always another layer. So our dear friend Kathleen had basically had a tree fall on her property, causing an electrical fire, and so on and so forth. And so now she's moved in for the weekend plus.
Right. Mary Killmond's bed and breakfast, which is up and running.
I mean, listen, Kathleen really is basically like a cousin to us, so no issue there. But it was like, wait, Kathleen's going to be here the day we're going to do this massive cleanup.
Yeah, so the end of the meeting, some jobs had been assigned, including Rosie and Ginny were taking over the mail, including implementing a locking mailbox that she cannot actually go into, and they will pre-sort her mail and start like really culling down all of the junk that she doesn't need to be dealing with, which she got on board with that idea. And is actually
notification to about 60 charities that it's now going to be the top 5 or so are going to get
kind
donations
of just
yearly.
Trim it down. I said I would help her clean up all of her email, because she also, very similar to her mail, gets a lot of junk that she doesn't need. So I'm going to help go through that and unsubscribe and da-da-da. That hasn't happened yet. I'm actually supposed to go over today and help her with that. So that'll be fun. I've roped in my daughter Sarah to help as well. And then also a lot of planning to do cleanup of the house, right?
Reorganization.
Yeah, and just get rid of stuff that she doesn't need and try and streamline it a bit, because it is very packed, and often there's big family dinners and it's like you can barely even move around, it feels like.
Our first Sunday.
Well, we all got bigger. That's not the house's fault.
True. That's true.
Their first Sunday dinners, if everybody comes, there's going to have to be multiple tables, and it's just, that's even harder to do now. And that was one big discussion too. She likes the Sunday dinners because she makes chicken, which then turns into her chicken soup. And it's really gotten more and more complicated. So
making enough chicken for anywhere from 10 to 20 people, and also mashed potatoes and gravy, because the whole idea was like,
keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple and always do the same thing. But it's actually a ton of work, and then involves other people, because like John and Eddie would help set up, help cook, hover and help and move things along, because she wants to do it. But the other thing we proposed was like, how about Sunday dinner becomes like a potluck, and we'll do a rotating of the siblings of like who's in charge of like a main course and kind of organizing it. And you can make chicken another night and still make your chicken soup, but it doesn't have to be for this.
Well, yes, there's a hostess mentality that she's still aiming for at her late 70s, where she wants the meal to be hot. She wants to carve it the way she wants to carve it, because then preserves the future dinners of this chicken and chicken soup, and also preserving all the chicken bones afterwards, which is real questionable about let's collect the bones after. They're gonna get boiled. It's fine, but still. But so there's this whole level of the kind of dinner she wanted to have. Yes, there's 15 people at the table ready and willing to eat warm chicken, hot-ish chicken. No, she wants her plate to be hot, freshly carved right now. So there's a whole coordinating and a timing thing that has been the most challenging part. John and I helped take over most of the chicken and mashed potatoes and set up and all that kind of stuff. So it's just navigating her in the kitchen wanting to finish this chicken dinner with multiple other dinners as the result out of it. It's like, well, that's a hard target to hit, lady.
Yeah. So that was one of the other suggestions that did get implemented. So at the end of this longer meeting, this first meeting with Grandma Mary, we were like, okay, we're going to start this now. And then we did follow up the next Saturday, because this was like a Wednesday night or whatever, with the whole group of siblings came to the house and kind of worked on different areas of trying to clean up and get rid of stuff. And we got rid of so much stuff. Just had her sit in a chair and went through all of her linens. And some of them was like, this is old, this is stained, this doesn't have any matching pieces, this is super cute, but you haven't used it in 10 years, so maybe let it go. Liz went through the candle cupboard. Oh my God. Or we call it the hutch.
It's a hutch. So it's got 5 drawers and then 2 sets of double door cupboards underneath. Mm-hmm. And the drawers used to have, one drawer is always in the family. Gosh, I mean, sorry,
yeah.
Potential burglar where to find the silver, but it's where the silver was. And the other drawers usually were Mod Podge and family photos.
Mod Podge? No, hodgepodge is the word you want?
I don't know. What's the difference?
Hodgepodge just meaning like a bunch of stuff thrown together.
Then what's Mod Podge?
That is not anything.
I think it is, but so
yes, you
hodgepodge.
do. We agree. You think this made-up thing that you've made up is now a thing.
Hodgepodge. Hodge with
I
a
think
G.
Mod
Yeah.
Podge
I
sounds
think we just
better.
found the episode
I
title,
think
Mod
Mod
Podge.
Podge.
I think it sounds better. Look at John. I'm going to fact check that and see if it actually, I think it does exist. So a hodgepodge of various different things in drawers and then photos. I assume that's what was still in there. And the lower 2 cabinet double doors were always all candles and maybe
Some serviceware.
Some serviceware.
Like maybe a couple pictures.
Oh, what is it a word, John?
I mean, obviously, we don't follow a single track of conversation, so let's just go back. Catherine, how in the world can you forget? Mod Podge is that stupid crafting glue or whatever.
Hello, it
I
is
was like,
something.
Is it a crafting glue? Because there's the tacky crafting glue, but Mod Podge feels like the other one. I can't remember.
And now could
I haven't
I
crafted in
make
a long
it
time,
work?
John, but thank you.
But Mod
Holding
Podge obviously is not a whole bunch of stuff in a drawer. Okay, so Mod Podge
I
is a
thought
thing.
my mom had drawers full of glue. That's how I remember.
Holding it together, Mod Podge. Okay, so
I need a handful of glue. Quick, get the drawer.
all right, it really doesn't work, everybody. Okay, so I got down, on my hands and knees and started just the candle cupboards. She could have opened a candle store. I don't know how it all fit in there to begin with. And, we all are guilty.
She's very good at, and so am I. It's a family trait of like really geometrically packing stuff in.
Ooh,
like
yeah,
you can
yeah.
very neatly fit a whole bunch of stuff in places.
You can't get any of it out, but it is in there.
That
neatly.
is very accurate.
Yeah, I mean-
so I was pulling out more tea lights. I mean, the entire San Fernando Valley could have been lit up. I mean, it's
Considering there was
insane.
the only house fire we've ever had was about 5 feet away from that hutch, and that hutch has got like 10,000 candles ready to go up in there. Woo!
No, and there were none of the old nostalgia, which I think they've been long gone, where it's like the old little, Christmas angel candles or a little pumpkin or something like that. Those are all gone. So we're just talking like tea lights and your typical
half burned down tapers
and, but yet.
And a set of red and green candles and a set of purple and pink candles.
And they weren't really, the problem is most things were not really the
most
accurate
half-burnt.
color anymore. They were.
it really faded.
What about the annual candle that Mom used to carve? Are any
No,
of those
there
still
was-
in there?
no,
Oh, the Easter candles. She used to do a
right.
big, what do you call that? Like a pillar candle, and she would carve
Like for the
religious
Pentecostal
symbols,
season, yeah.
into it, and then burn it during Easter season. But she used to paint it and give it out as gifts.
Nope, none of
of
there.
those.
No, and that's what I'm saying. There wasn't anything in there that was really sentimental in the candle department, but it was just so much of it. And other things like this, candle holder you got still that has this price tag on it from God knows when, so you're never going to use it. So then it was just kind of going through and organizing it. That
And
just,
double checking with her, are you okay to get rid of all this?
Yeah, but
and
some of it-
kind of jokingly, we were like, lady, you don't need all this.
Yeah, that
And
became
she was pretty good about
my
it.
lady had many inflections. Lady. I mean, like, because it was just insane, some of the stuff. So then that all got reorganized, and then I had one completely empty section. So I was like, all right, we got to figure out what's going to go in there. It's hot property now. But then I start looking through the drawers. Once again, I had a different expectation based on.
You thought they were more like junk drawers.
2 of the drawers were completely full, to the brim, barely shut, of the solicitations from different religious organizations.
Oh, no. What?
Where you would send money back to get a mass said for someone. Now, Mom did used to do those. Sadly, if someone had passed away or for particular reasons, you could do that. It's very nice and thoughtful. But, I mean, who even knows if these organizations exist anymore? I mean, some of these were so old. And, then it really does require that additional step of you sending money for the mass intention.
Right.
I mean, 2 drawers full of them.
That's
Full of them.
crazy.
So I got to give her.
I thought you were going to say it was more candles.
Nope.
Is that the issue with hoarders? Is that they just don't have enough cabinetry and storage areas?
Well, no. I mean,
And I will, I do occasionally watch that show Hoarder, and then Mark always goes, "Did you watch Hoarders?" Because like the next day I'm cleaning out something. I'm like, we can't. My gosh, it's too much, everything. So usually, because hoarding is a psychological disorder, mental issue, people really resist help and cleaning out and reorganization. I got to give Mom like 100% credit.
Yeah,
she was awesome. You let that go. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, great on that. I mean, very agreeable, not really challenging anything. If she did want to keep something, Rosie would be like, really? And then Mom would say, why? And then it was usually fine. But that was about the most pushback you would get. And so I thought, oh, here are these 2 drawers of religious cards that are for church, for mass. I mean, oh my gosh, she's never going to get rid of them. But I'm like, the last couple of years of her, hopefully get 10 more years out of her. But like, you could send one out every single day to somebody and you wouldn't get through half of these. So
Yeah.
it's like, there's too many of them. So I said, Mom, what do you think? She goes, nope, get rid of all of them. I was like, what?
ooh, amazing.
I go, really? And I mean, I barely asked twice. I'm like, okay. I mean, the recycling was a lot.
I mean, it's a big deal when you suddenly have a teammate on some projects and you're like, I don't know how to fucking start that project. Never mind. Close the closet door.
Yeah, I think
And then
that's
just
what it
rip
was.
the
get
band-
somebody in the closet. They're pointing to stuff and going, oh, you're going to handle it? No, yes. Yes, though. for
It's a rip
sure.
the Band-Aid off
Yeah.
type of thing. And, so she was primarily sitting in the hallway because there's a cupboard, passway, under the stairs, storage space that somehow or another becomes so full that
Yeah, you're supposed to be
you
able
almost
to
say it was
walk through. Yeah.
dangerous. Like it was like, oh my God. So you and Rosemary, along with Mom, sort of sat there, and that was most of your day.
Although apparently Mom's impression was that Sarah did the whole thing because
Well-
Sarah did help. She helped organize all the linen. She put them into stacks of things that went together. And then later, Grandmary was, I think, talking to Rosemary or to Ginny, and Rosemary was there. Like, oh, Sarah was amazing. That whole closet. Have you seen it? And Rosemary was like, wait, what? Catherine
I
and
get
I
no
were there
credit?
the whole time. What do you mean? I thought that was very funny because I was like, I told Sarah after, I'm like, oh, apparently you got full credit for doing that whole closet.
Well, that's, always been a Killmond credit thing has always been an issue. I mean, for me especially. Rosie and I growing up, say we baked something together or made something or put something together, we would have a debate how much credit each were going
Oh.
to get. And I'd always be like, I feel like you only get 30%, even though she would be there the entire time with me. So still to this day, Rosie and Kirk, her husband, will joke and be like, well, how much credit are you going to give Rosemary?
oh my gosh, I did not know that.
I'm
That's
like,
so funny.
This is a 20% situation.
Oh my gosh.
And it was always such an asshole. It was always undervalued credit. I never gave her full credit. So that Mom, you wonder where I get it. Mom literally gave Sarah all the credit for.
Oh, hilarious.
And you and Rosemary were in there sweating doing it. The whole time.
Yeah, but it's in really good shape now.
Well, and this is one of our interesting discoveries. So, like we said, we've had a big clean out, and there's probably been other times that stuff has gotten organized or looked through or over and given away or donated. So the idea that there's some hidden treasure in the house that's,
It seemed unlikely.
it seems unlikely, everybody, okay? So you guys are cleaning out things and we're putting things on the dining room table. And these Corningwares come out that are like the classic Corningwares. And this is where Sarah was helpful because we were like, all right, Mom, you've got these other nice ones. You're probably never going to use those. The classic Corningware.
Like the old style.
School
Like
70s style.
Right. They've got a little blue. It's a blue cornflower. And it's called the cornflower pattern.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So Mom had like 2 very good pieces that were like, oh, Mom.
With lids, yeah.
With lids. They're not even chipped. And Sarah's like, oh, those are worth something. And Rosie's like, oh, God, really? And of course, that's what's awesome about cell phones today. Like, immediately look up and we're like, wait, what? These could be worth anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
Now, the funny thing is, I thought everybody knew that.
No, you knew that?
Well, there's a TikTok expert who will evaluate Corningware. That's how I became aware of it. She's very
She's a
cool.
Pyrex lady.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Pyrex? Yeah.
It's all, serviceware. But it does make sense if you think about, like, there was limited runs of these. They only made so many. Then they stopped making them, moved
And they're
onto
very
a different
breakable.
style.
Yeah.
And like we were just saying, there are 2 pieces that, wow, surprisingly, don't have any chips in them. Because most of them do. So if you find one that doesn't, it is very rare.
So, John, all these years you knew this treasure trove existed?
I mean,
Well,
Catherine,
2 pieces.
Catherine just said cornflower. I didn't know that. That got said about 50 times during that day.
What? Oh, I was not around. I
She
don't
was
know.
under the stairs in that cupboard cleaning it out. Sarah was actually with me, not in that
I
cupboard.
didn't hear about this at all until after.
Yeah, so Sarah was very engaged with myself and Rosemary, and then she was down the den with Adam and floating. So ironically, she got full credit for an area that she really was never in. But okay.
Yes, I will say, even though there are multiple grandchildren, I brought my kids because Eric was busy and I didn't want them to just be at home alone. And I knew Sarah would be helpful, and obviously Adam can't be alone. So I'm like, well, I'm bringing them. So,
Well, children deserve to be tortured.
I mean, sure. And Sarah was extremely helpful. I do have a funny little story
By
about
family
Adam, though.
chores, right?
Yeah.
John put a
Tortured by family chores.
Yes, exactly.
Tortured by family chores. So a funny little anecdote about Adam, though. So he was just down in the den, like sitting on his phone. And, we were like, make sure it's charging, Adam, because he'll run it down to like 13% or whatever. You're like, oh, geez, plug it in quickly. So at one point, once we had cleaned out the closet enough where we could open the door and see the pass through into the downstairs den room, we see Adam walking across with a giant surfboard. And we were like, wait, what is he doing? What's happening? And he had realized that there was a door that he had never, noticed or something before. There's a door that goes into the garage, right? And he'd never, I guess, seen it or noticed or whatever. He had moved a piece of furniture out of the way, and then John has 2 surfboards that were kind of like tilted in the corner against, and he was like moving them like, oh no, I'm gonna like go check out this. And we were like, oh no, put it back. Anyway,
That's what we're
it was
doing.
just
We're
very funny to
clearing out doorways. Let me help out.
Yep, just all of a sudden, Adam is down there moving things around. We're like, oh no, buddy, put that back. Okay, hold on, hold on.
So, so we may have a small treasure. John, the problem is I have never seen it on the Antique Roadshow. No one's ever brought in Pyrex or Corningware.
Yeah, I also didn't learn it from TikTok. I think this has gotten discussed. You all have forgotten. That's the story.
I know. No. You could never have told me they were worth that amount of money. I definitely was shocked and surprised. So that has now become someone else's project. Did it go to your house to try to sell?
Yeah, Sarah took custody of it to try and research and figure out how much it's worth and how to list it on eBay and figure out.
Right, because we're like, Mom, at this point, you have other service where
you don't need it. If they are worth anything.
Think of another money toward another little project that we'll do at the house. So that the Corningware was one of the takeaways that we think might be an Antique Roadshow discovery.
Correct. And the second would be she had a lot of older silver serviceware.
Almost from her wedding.
I think it absolutely was from her wedding.
Right.
And some of it could be from good, what do you call it? Like the seal on the back, the little...
Oh, the mark.
Yeah, the mark from whoever made it. Yeah, the stamp from whoever made it. So there's more research that needs to be done about that. But again, same idea. It's like you haven't used this in years. You don't really care about it if we can turn it around and then put it into more landscaping fixes that you want to do or whatever.
Yeah, because silver takes polishing, and none of this has been polished in God knows how long. Because I don't even think I have seen that in decades, the silver. So yes, now that's Rosie and my project. We took that home. We've already contacted, it's almost like a silversmith, because they'll buy by the pound silver, but they will also, if it's Irish silver versus English or American, like everything
They check it
factors
to
in.
make sure it's worth more in its current state versus melting it down.
Yeah. So that's a project now Rosie and I have to well, we started it, and we also got the mailbox with the lock on it.
Yeah. That went in. She was very excited about that. It looks nice.
So that day I think actually went very well. It was like peeling off a Band-Aid, so the bleeding is still happening. Like, we have by no means stopped it yet, but we did do a lot of work that day.
We were pretty good about trying, because we had heard the initial meeting went too long, and she made it clear to other people, friends, family, whoever, that she was not happy about it.
Post on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, she didn't. But, we heard back that the review on it was bad. So this time we were like, no, sit in a chair. Okay, you need to take a break, then go in your room and take a break, because we're going to continue working and we won't get rid of anything without your approval, but you don't need to be actively involved in any of this. And at one point, she definitely got her little lunch together and went in her room and ate her lunch. I'm bringing this up because I heard that she was, I don't know if annoyed is the right word, but called me out for going out and getting Wendy's for my kids. And she was like, I can't believe that Katherine...
Wendy's?
Yeah, well, I guess it was. I can't believe Katherine went out and got Wendy's for just her kids, which... First of all, she's already in her room eating lunch, and it was practically 2:00. And I was like, oh my God, I'm the worst mother ever. I need to feed these two children. No one else had brought kids in air quotes, because everybody's kids are,
teenagers and up.
a little bit older. I mean, if Ginny had brought little kids, then okay.
Right.
But Rosie didn't bring hers. You didn't bring Ethan, just my kids.
And of course, our super organizer, Virginia, had sent out a text message about lunch, and the response was sort of,
don't worry about it.
take
Everybody
care
can
of
do their
yourself.
thing.
So I brought a sandwich. Rosie brought something.
Yeah, Rosie had a bar or something. And I realized okay, this is not wrapping up. I need to feed my kids. I'm going to run out to Wendy's. It's around the corner. I know what to get them, blah, blah, blah. And I specifically asked everyone who was within earshot, Ed, do you want anything from Wendy's?
Mom was already in her room eating lunch.
her lunch. John, do you want anything from Wendy's? No, I'm fine. Liz is eating her sandwich. Rosie's eating a bar. Everybody's fine. Okay, I'm going to Wendy's. I mean, it was not a secret, and it was not I was when I heard back afterwards that she was not that, I don't even know if she said how rude that she went to Wendy's and I was oh my God, you can't win. It doesn't, there's gonna be something, you're just gonna step in a pile of shit somehow and get in trouble.
You could have won. You just buy her the super small Frosty. And she would have been like, oh, you got this for me?
I mean, that is the lesson. The lesson is whether she wants it or not, bring her back something, because that is her love language. She wants presence and validation and
she wants
to be thought
included.
of. Yes. So I was like, look, it wasn't a treat. It was emergency chicken nuggets. This was not.
Who's passing out? No one? Okay, well, I'm going to take care of my kids.
I mean, whatever. I mean, I didn't even get Wendy's. I just got it for them. I ate a bar. Oh my God. Anyway, I was like, okay, well, so I got in trouble for getting my kids Wendy's. Perfect. And then we worked for another hour or two, something like that. I think we tried to wrap up at 3. So we started at 10, I want to say.
Yeah, it was a decent chunk with that many people. And then we realized, Mom's not going to have enough trash cans. And so I think I took home between 5 and 7 trash bags. And Mark's like, what is happening? I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah, I got a little bit of flack because I filled both my car and Sarah's car with all of the donation stuff.
Right.
Everything that was going to go to the Goodwill or Salvation Army in this case, I think is where we ended up taking it. And Eric was like, what is all this stuff? I'm like, we're just going to take it and drop it off. He's like, oh, we are? Oh, are we going to do that? I'm
Well,
like,
who
"Oh."
did it? Who was the we?
Well, he didn't want me to go that night because I was like, they're open for another whatever. And he's like, just stay home. I'm like, well, then you're going to have to deal with it because I'm going to be, working or whatever. He's like, it's fine. But then afterwards, he was like, they didn't even want some of it. This was
Oh, yeah,
kind of a
they
pain.
are.
They're kind of picky.
Well, because it goes back to Obviously, a lot of people cleaned out a lot of things during COVID because they were at
they were home. And
then the condo, is that how I pronounce her?
Maria Kondo, yeah.
The effect of her special. So they have
Does
been.
it spark joy? Wasn't that her
Yes.
thing? Like, you hold it and does it spark joy? And if not, just get rid of it.
Yeah. Geez, if we had that approach at Mom's house, like nothing is sparking joy. Like,
No, everything sparks joy for her. Don't take a thing.
I mean, that's kind of true.
no, she was really good. So they have been so overwhelmed by donations, very odd hours, cut off donations at a certain point during the day. We have a Goodwill right in our area, and it is. Are you accepting donations today? No, we're done for the day. No, we're not. We're not open today. So it's not as easy as it used to be to donate. And yes, they're sort of like, we don't want all your old junk.
Yeah, some of it they don't think they can get rid of or sell. Like in our case, we took it to a Salvation Army and they have like a resale store. So they really do look at it like, yeah, can we put this in the resale store? That's their agenda. They're a little
I felt
more picky.
like we were somewhat discerning.
We threw a lot of stuff away.
So I feel like that we weren't giving total junk to Salvation Army or donations. But at the end of the day, Mom was very grateful that we had all been there. And it just started. There's been projects since, which we'll get into later, maybe with other family members. We do Chef Virginia in here because sometimes these group texts from her are like, wow, okay.
She wants to keep everybody looped in. I appreciate that because she also doesn't want to feel like she's making all these decisions alone. Like right now, she's doing stuff with some landscaping and she doesn't want to feel like it's all on her shoulders. She wants to also make sure everyone has the opportunity to know what's going on and approve or disapprove,
So it'll be an ongoing and has continued to be, where there's been smaller projects and bigger projects. We'll probably have another couple days of all hands on deck. But Mom, I gotta say, I've been impressed with her openness and willingness to do all this. So.
And then the next day, we had the first family Sunday dinner, first of the month.
And you took it on.
Right. And it was pretty successful. I mean, I brought a big frozen lasagna and one gluten-free.
What brand of frozen lasagna
It was just
that?
Stouffer's.
I knew it. I said that to Mark.
Yeah, that got said about 5 times that night.
Yeah, it's just it was, I mean.
Okay, John, I wasn't there when that got said. And
It was
obviously,
in the text.
that it was a Stouffer's lasagna.
No, I didn't say Stouffer's.
100%.
I
You
did?
said stuffers.
You did.
You said stuffers. You didn't say Stouffer's. You spelled it wrong. But
Okay, well-
it's in the text. I'm like, oh, she meant Stouffer's.
Because
Sick.
Mark thought you made
Stouffer's.
it. And
That's
I'm like,
like
no
delish.
way.
I know now you are right. I put Stouffer's lasagna in there specifically because I know that there is a snooty part of the family that's like, what do you mean you didn't get it from Cavaretti's or whatever? What's that restaurant?
Yeah, Cavaretti's. But their lasagna is like $50.
Oh,
Cavarettas.
Cavarettas. I was like, I am not doing that. I'm going to give
Right.
everybody fair warning. Katherine is buying a Target frozen lasagna and baking that crap. And then I also bought like a mini gluten-free one. It worked out great.
Yeah, but Mark did wonder. And I said, I've never heard this brand
John
called
wants
Stuffers.
to say. It's not Stuffers.
Did it work out great?
Well,
There was a lot of stress, right?
okay,
right
I
as
did
it was
forget
happening.
because I also made gluten-free pasta, but then I didn't put any sauce on it, and then I panicked and was like, "How many people are coming? Holy crap, 20! This is a lot of people. 20 people is a lot of people. Uh-oh!" And then when Liz got there, I was like, what do you think? Evaluate this quickly with your catering background. Do you think we need to throw some pasta sauce on this? And you're like, yes. Does Grandma have any? No, we already looked. Oh my God, this is a disaster. So Liz and Mark got in their car, went home, got a jar of pasta sauce, came back and put that on. And then we did literally eat the entire double-sized lasagna because it was not even family size. It was like party size. It was like the big one, the biggest one they
Oh,
make.
how indulgent of you.
Well, I mean, I just, I was like, probably at Costco they actually have a bigger one, but this was like the biggest one that they had at the Target. And we ate every scrap of it. We ate almost all, I think there were like a little corner of the gluten-free one because it was really good. And I ate it. Rosie, I might have eaten it, and definitely Lauren ate it. About half of the pasta got eaten. So it was good. And then Rosie brought salad, which worked out. And there was bread. Ginny brought gluten-free bread. So, I mean, lessons were learned. I wouldn't do it exactly the same way next time, but.
And Liz bought bread, but
Oh, Liz.
Yes. This is my husband never likes to do anything. He's like, we're supposed to bring bread. Now, he's not on TikTok or social media. So I'm like, where did you even hear about this? He goes, why don't we make a butterboard? I'm like, really? And 2 different flavors. I'm like, oh my God. So taking the butter out earlier to get it, room temperature. So we did a garlic and rosemary one, and then a
Fig, wasn't it?
fig. I think there's something else mixed in the fig, but I can't remember. But yes, so
People really liked it. It ended up being sort of an appetizer.
yes, that was the only problem.
And then with dinner, they were like, well, there's other bread. So enjoy that.
Mark needs to make a better announcement about what he's planning, because his missing croutons from the other thing, and then this is supposed to be part of the dinner, not the appetizer. Make an announcement. Tell us what you're doing. Get in that text thread, man.
Well, a butterboard does have a very appetizer vibe.
I guess, yes. I mean,
I
I'm
don't
like,
know. Anyway,
it was cool,
pretty-
but I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know, we need to do that again. But it's like, it's a cool thing. You're like, fancy butter, but turned out very well, very nice. And was it less stressful for Mom and you guys?
Than cooking chickens.
Yes, obviously.
Only in that we weren't responsible for the cooking of it. It was like having the circus come to town. It's still a lot of work.
Yeah.
You're not doing the circus, but the circus took over a whole, area and set up tents, and everybody came in, and then there was a lot of noise for 3 hours, and then you're like, then we have to break down the table. We gotta wait.
Well, yeah. So in essence, the dinner didn't change in some ways. As soon as people are about to arrive, you still have, utensils, all the stuff that we're still, and then there's cleanup. But yes, all day there wasn't cooking, so
Which
that
is
was
nice. Okay, good. Hopefully the next one will be just as successful. I don't know what it'll be, but
Lasagna 2.0.
Yes.
I mean, I'm hoping that people are going to come up with
Mix it
their
up.
own easy ideas. I mean, we could do anything. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's just factoring in the different eating limitations
Yes.
of certain family members and what can everybody eat. So exactly what you're saying is not a challenging meal for the person making it. But I think it turned out great. Mom handled the first day and the projects have happened since very well. So ongoing, like I said, I'm sure all of you are also facing similar circumstances or will be in the future.
Yeah.
The family home still means you got to be somewhat involved and responsible for it and help your parent out. So
Eric did ask, he said, about how much do you think you guys accomplished? I mean, because we did a lot.
let's do a percentage.
And I said about 20%. And he was like,
that is so high. That is so wrong.
Yeah, I think so too.
you think that's high?
Yes.
Oh, no.
We did 2 spaces, and they weren't even full-size rooms.
Oh, my God.
Oh no, I felt like we're about at 5.
5?
Yeah, sorry, 2.5 spaces. 2.5 spaces.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I feel like in the conceit of, the projects and the amount of spaces that have been approached, yeah, you're not that far off, John. And Liz, a little bit closer. I think it's a little bit higher than 5% if you consider the long-term projects that aren't on the plate. Mail. That is every single week that was as much work as one of these spaces. So 52 weeks of mail, that's a big difference.
Yeah,
long
no,
term.
he was just asking
But
the percentage
actual, house
of the
being
house.
in perfect shape and running perfectly.
Well, because I was evaluating
7%.
multiple other rooms. Okay, John is just not loving this 20%. Come on, let me be optimistic.
No.
I thought that was low. Eric was like, was it 50%? I was like,
Oh my
no.
God, delusional.
The closet, the desk, the hutch. That was it.
Well, the laundry
The
room
back
also.
hall and her bedroom.
No, her
No.
bedroom didn't get done. Yeah.
No, don't start thinking about it.
Okay, let's not.
I just think it's
let's end it there
Yeah.
on a positive note of 20%. So anyway, because everyone agrees with me.
Right. And actually, we're ahead of spring cleaning, so that's the real motivation. Well, thank you for listening to Family Dynamics. Please follow us on all of our social at Family Dynamics with a K for Killmonds. We truly appreciate it. Thank you once again for listening to
Family Dynamics.